How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to Yanks the Cop. That was definitely a tough one today. Steven's off as well. I'm sure you guys noticed that he is not here. I think he just couldn't handle that disappointment of that draw to West Brom and Big Sam. But fortunately, we are joined by Wahomie as usual and our recurring guest, Mick from the Kopite Podcast. How you guys doing?
Yeah, well, as good as it can be. I understand why Steven stayed away because that was difficult to have any positives from the whole 90. But yeah, difficult one.
Yeah, I just was furious. It ruined my Sunday, to be honest. I went into this game thinking we are going to get a win, and I just don't understand how we turned up. Like last year, Boxing Day, we were amazing against Leicester. But this one, we just turned up as if we had too much turkey or too much chicken, as if they were just, I just didn't understand it.
Yeah, well, let's just get right into this one. Let's just get right into the rundown. Obviously, with Chelsea and United dropping points, City winning, I think this was just such an important game for Liverpool. We were at home. We knew what to expect with Big Sam. But, I mean, what did you guys think? Was this one a really important one to get a win from? Mick, let's start with you.
Yeah, it was because I'm looking at the table now. We're only 3 points ahead of Everton. This was a great opportunity to put a nice little gap, 5-point gap between us and them. And I think it's just when you're at home, you've got fans in the stadium. You're against West Brom, who were down towards the bottom of the table, fighting for their lives. They've got a new manager, which is obviously Sam Allardyce, who's a good manager in terms of organising a defensive team, like a low block and whatever else. But you still think you're looking at the starting 11 for Liverpool. It's so good that we should have had enough to beat them, but we just, after the Mane goal, we had a few good chances, but we just didn't turn the screw as often and as frequent as we needed to against them. They were obviously praying that and the longer the game went on, I've just said this in the pod I did for the Kopite, the longer the game went on, the more you fancied them to get a goal. And like you said, when Matip went off, those chances increased by 2 because they were relying on off a set play, and then your 6'5" defender goes off, and then obviously Reece Williams is great, but he's not the same caliber yet. He could be in future, but it's a difficult one to take. It feels like a defeat, which is it's quite difficult, because we're still top of the league by 3 points, but Man United have got a game in hand. They'll go 2 points behind if they win that. So we've Newcastle game on Wednesday's just become that much more important now.
Yeah, and I think we can almost expect the same from Newcastle. I mean, they're definitely going to watch this game. They're going to look at Big Sam's tactics, and if anything, if they imply or utilize those same tactics as Big Sam did, they're actually more potent on the counter as well. They have Callum Wilson up there. They have John Joe Shelby. You can put in that through ball. So, especially with Joel Matip going out, Wednesday's going to be a huge game, absolutely huge. But Wahomie, what do you think?
I just think it's another drop points. It's not good enough performance. I don't think anyone turned up today. Maybe the first 10 minutes he turned up. Otherwise, as Mick said, we've opened the door for our rivals, to be honest, and we could open up a gap. And look, I just tweeted, I said, look, I get you're going to drop points. And I think it's totally fine. If you drop points to Wolves or Leicester, a City, that's totally fine because they're good teams. But when you're at home to West Brom, you should not be dropping points to West Brom at home. That's not good enough. And in the 17-18 season, draws cost us the title, because we drew too many games to teams that we should be beating. And I think, I'm not saying we're going to throw away the title this time around, but I just think today just showed we badly need Thiago back, because we need someone that can open up low blocks, because like I said, we're going to get the same against Newcastle. I think Southampton away is going to be a very hard game, because they are quick going forward with Ings, Ward-Prowse, and they're well drilled defensively. So I think tonight, like I was saying as well, I think Hendo, Ginny, and Jones are obviously top-class players, and they're fantastic. When you play Leicester or a Spurs, they're great because they get left space and they can do all the one-touch passes and create space. When you play a low block, that just is going to put 2 backs of 4 behind, and they're just going to deny you space. You need people who are going to pass the ball faster, not take 2 or 3 touches before they pass the ball. You need to move faster, because it makes it easy for West Brom just to, deny the space, and they're allowing us to cross on the wings because they knew that they can head the ball away. Every cross we put in, they headed it away or was overhit. Except for the Mane one, really. All the other ones were easy for them to get rid of, so they were happy for us to do that. And I think we were reasons why we didn't win today because it's so slow in possession. It's passing the ball at the back. It's so slow and easy. And I think for me, when I saw Matic go off, I knew that cost us. And I knew Keita, again, being unfit, cost us today. Because I think he would have started today. He would have started today if he was fit. But as always, you can't rely on Keita. And I think that cost us.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a strange game because I thought individually each player played pretty well overall. I thought Hendo had a good game. I thought the front three played pretty well overall. I mean, Salah was slacking in that second half, definitely. I thought Robertson was getting forward effectively. Trent, I thought, was definitely one of the weak points of our squad. But they just really need to get up for this Newcastle game. It was a big opportunity at Anfield. They dropped points again to Big Sam. And it makes Wednesday all the more important. But let's actually just get into the lineup following that. You just kind of hinted at it, Wahomie, with Keita being injured, but otherwise it was the usual lineup. Mick, what are your thoughts about that? You maybe touch a little bit on Naby Keita and I guess your overall thoughts on the lineup overall.
I think it was as good as it could be, really. Like Wahomie said, if Keita was fit, he probably goes in for Curtis Jones there. Curtis Jones has been great recently. But he was one of many today who weren't. It was just difficult to get the ball rolling. Like the ball progression wasn't as crisp as you want it to be. Like the passes weren't like
so slow.
It was too lackadaisical, and you need to be quick, pinging it left, right, tire them out, and we weren't doing that. It was 1-2 touch, play it to the left back, play it back in, back to the right back, and it was like that's all well and good if you're doing it at a faster pace, and we weren't doing that. I think not having Keita as an option, even off the bench, was it wasn't good. Like obviously, it was great to see Oxlade-Chamberlain come on, but he didn't.
He looked rusty though. I thought he looked rusty.
Yeah, he did, and it was like there was a chance where he could have shot, and then he kind of took it back inside and played it out to Trent, and like it weren't Trent's best game either, obviously. But there was times where he's been past the ball and he's kind of took a touch too heavy, and I think he's done it twice where they managed to just get back at him and take it off him. Yeah. And that's bound to happen when he's come back from such a long layoff, and that'll come with game time and whatever. But yeah, I thought
you can see what he's trying to do though. You can see what Ox was trying to do though. He was definitely trying to penetrate like Naby Keita normally would, but I think Ox obviously, like you said, doesn't have the game time right now.
Yeah, and it's difficult when you come up against a team like that because you've got to, every player has got, well, most of your players have got to be 8 out of 10, like energy, passing, and it just wasn't there today. And like I said, the longer the game went on, it was, but you could just see it happening. I was like, these are definitely going to score off a corner here, and it happens, and you're just like, well, we kind of deserved it really because we weren't good enough, and it's in a way we've got such high standards like that, and that's part of the problem. We're so good now, so any deviation slightly below that, we're like, oh come on, like it's the levels are up there, and if we drop there, it's like we need to be better. And I read a stat just before, like it's the first time since December 2016 that Liverpool have dropped points from a winning position at Anfield against a side starting the day in the relegation zone. So 4 years. So that's like, and obviously the unbeaten run at home rumbles on. I mean, albeit like very slowly after that draw. But yeah, it's one of them games like Wahomie said. Once Thiago comes back in, he's perfect for these type of games. Just literally little metronome there, can just pass it back, pass left, pass right, and sees passes no one sees. And obviously, once Jota comes back in as well in January or February, that's another option we need coming off the bench. So it's not all doom and gloom, even though after watching that 90, it was.
Yeah.
What
was that? Sorry.
What was that? Do you sell Kate in the summer and just get rid of him and cut your losses? The same with Matip.
I honestly, I've thought this because I do think Klopp needs to be a bit more ruthless in terms of, obviously, if someone's not available, then in a way they're no good to you. Like they need to be available and on the pitch, and Matip's proven like went off today, went off against he went off with a back spasm in another game, didn't he? I can't remember who it was against now.
It was
I think
2
that
weeks
was
ago, I think. I forget who it was.
Fulham. No, it was Fulham.
Yeah, it was another game where he went off, and it's like, well, it's gonna have to be a conversation at some point. It's like the same with Oxlade-Chamberlain in a way as well. If he comes back and then he has maybe 10 games and gets injured again, that raises the ugly question again. Do you cut your losses and just go, right, we need to get rid of a couple of these players and put together a pot of money to kind of get someone who's a bit more available on the pitch and who can come in and make the squad stronger for like throughout the whole season rather than just a third of it. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like,
yeah, I guess the only thing I would add to that is that Keita. I mean, I've been a huge critic of Keita recently with his injuries and his unavailability, but he is 25 years old. So, I mean, he does have maybe a little bit of time before he really gets into his prime of 26, 27. If he can I think it just comes down to the physios. I mean, they really need to limit his game time. They need to limit maybe even his training time. I don't know what it is. It seems like the wind blows the wrong way and he has a knock for at least a week. So it's just, he needs to figure it out. He needs to be available. And Homie's been saying this since the start of the season that maybe the Premier League is just not for him. And that's how it is sometimes. You know, guys come over from the Bundesliga or from La Liga, Serie A, and the Premier League is just too fast, too physical for him. And the way Klopp plays could be too demanding on his body. So, I mean, I'm really interested to see what Klopp wants to do with him. He's a really loyal manager. So I can't see him really wanting to sell him, but, you know, maybe out of his hands at this point. But, well, homie, let's get back to you real quick about the lineup, because I know you were really critical of Klopp. And Charlie in the comments did say, come on, lads, need to put West Brom to the sword here. Do you think that the substitutions by Klopp enabled the team to do that?
Yeah, I think I agree with Mick. Because of the injuries, there was nothing in terms of the starting lineup he could do. So, you know, like it was more or less our best team, and he had no choice but to play Jones because no one else he could have started. He couldn't have started Ox or Shaq, but then just come back from injury. So there was no choice in that. So obviously, there's nothing we could have done that. I think the subs, I think Klopp's subs are wrong today. You know, and I think I don't understand why he's been so reluctant. Maybe it's to the medical team, and they've got like some kind of schedule in terms of how much game time that they can give players, because maybe it could be that. But I don't understand why we waited until the 80th minute to bring on Ox. You know, why wasn't Ox brought on like the 60-minute mark? Because it was clear at that point we were not going to ever score. You know, we weren't creating nothing, and we were struggling, and West Brom were just in the ascendancy then. So I didn't stand then at that point where he doesn't look, I'm taking off Jones and I'm bringing on Shaq or Ox on now to just mix it up. And I think Klopp, he doesn't normally get it wrong most times, but I think today, in terms of subs, to me, he got it wrong. And I think
Origi as well.
I didn't understand that. I thought, you know, I thought like I would have kept on taking off maybe one of their midfielders if you're going to do that, and then bring on Origi in the last minute or something like that. Rather than I didn't see the point taking Bobby off.
I thought he should have taken off Salah and brought in Shaq. I think Salah was really struggling in that second half. I mean, he had one good link-up play with Firmino, but I thought Bobby was one of the front three who actually was playing well in the second half. I mean, Mane was having a tough go with the right back. Is it Furlow or Furlong?
Yeah.
And you know, Salah was just having a really tough time getting into the game as well. So I think Shaq would have created space for Mane and Salah and maybe even Ox at some point. But yeah, I agree with Wahomie. The subs were just off point today. The lineup just didn't do it against West Brom, and even the fans at Anfield, the 2,000 fans, they even looked out of the game. It's just a tough game to really get involved in.
Yeah, it was. Like, I completely agree. Like, whenever I see Divock Origi, as much as he is absolute hero for the stuff he's done, every time I see him stripped and ready to come on, I'm like, oh my God, why are we bringing it? Like, I understand 90th minute and we're lobbing balls into the box. We're hoping he's going to get his head on them because he's pretty good in the air. But apart from that, yeah, I didn't understand that one. Like, maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain, like even just 5 minutes earlier, like give him 15 minutes rather than just 10. Like just little things like that where, yeah, it was just everyone had an off day, and maybe even Klopp just had an off day today because it was just frustrating from start to finish. And it's just, you expect, like with the lineup we've put out there compared to their lineup, you just expect us to go, right, we're way better than these, and it's just. Yeah, it didn't nothing happened for us, unfortunately. Obviously, but apart from Mane's goal, which was obviously great, what a finish that was. There was not much else that was positive, really. Obviously, Robertson was great as well, but there weren't too many good performances in there today, unfortunately.
Yeah, for me, it's always been... Go ahead, Wami.
I was going to ask, do you think we have a complacency issue against these low relegation teams, that we think we're too good, or is it an attitude issue in terms of how we're approaching games?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's I think we do struggle against a team like that, but like we had a chat before, just before we done this podcast with the Kopite lads, and we saying, do you reckon Sam Allardyce is going to keep them up? And I don't think he does, because I think we're the perfect team for him to set up against, because he wants to have no possession, 6-4-0 formation, and just soak her up and get a counter-attack goal or score off a corner. Like, they haven't got enough good players up front or in midfield to create too many chances from their own doing, like from open play. So it is difficult to watch, and I do think we are a bit complacent. That's why it's so frustrating, because I think sometimes when we've got too much of the ball, we're kind of just passing it side to side, and then we'll pass it into Salah or we'll pass it into Mane, and we'll just basically go, right, go on then, just go and take him on. And Salah, when like Mane was good today, I thought Salah was kind of just a bit more hesitant to take people on. It felt like to me he kept passing it in field a lot. And when trying to commit the Kieran Gibbs, which he should have, because he would have took him on 9 times out of 10, and he weren't doing that often enough today. So it's just that those little things where you need you especially your wide men, as good as they are, you need them in top form. And it's, I don't know if it's maybe the midfield giving them the ball, saying go and do something, and they're not doing it. So it's just it was just a vicious circle today, and that was the problem, I think.
Yeah, it seems like, I'll let you touch on this a little bit, but it seems like Liverpool always have a tale of two halves. You know, we just put 7 in against Crystal Palace last week. We were clinical as hell in that game. We come out in this game in the first half. Mane scores in the 10th or 13th minute, something around there. And then it seems like we let that foot off the gas a little bit going into the second half, and then furthermore into the second half. Is that kind of what you're seeing for most of the season here?
I think, I don't want to keep banging on about it, but I think a lot of it comes down to, in these big games, these small teams, we signed Thiago for the sake of that, because he will play the ball faster, he'll play one-touch football, he will get us on the front foot, or most of the balls are forward passes, he will be an orchestra in terms of dictating the tempo of the game, he'll play faster, and he creates. I remember there was a stat in his final year at Bayern, that when Thiago didn't play, Bayern conceded more goals, the win percentage went down, and they scored less goals. But when he was in the team, they defended better, they scored more goals, and the win percentage ratio went up. And I think we miss him in terms of, that's why we are so slow in terms of games when we start in the first half away from home, because of that lack of, we don't have anyone without Thiago that's going to play the ball faster. We saw a bit of Naby doing that against Crystal Palace in the second, more or less in the second half, but he's never reliable. So I think that's cost us as well. And I also think Van Dijk not being there cost us big time. His passes from the back, the way he gets us, he bypasses presses, and the way he is dominant in the air costs us as well. Like, we're missing his passing range as well. I think that's also hurting us. And even Gomez, I think Gomez is very good at doing long passes from the back, and we're missing that as well. So I think those two are hurting us, and that's why it's also hurting us away from home. But even with that, we should be doing still much more better with the players we've got available, and it's not really good enough, in terms of, the boys, I remember Ginny saying before the Spurs game, we need to start fast. Somebody said that today. We need to start fast, even in the second half. We need to come out and take authority here. I think they need to look at themselves today and say, look, that's not good enough. Because I'm just looking now. Spurs are 1-0 up. They're now down to 4 points away from us. If they win that game, we've just thrown away our 2 wins. Because we're letting back in. So
I think Mourinho said something to them pre-game.
Yeah, and I think we need to work on this attitude away from home, or to small teams at home, because it's going to cost us if we continue to play this way. Newcastle is a big game. We're going to have to obviously play Williams in that game, and he's going to be tested against pace up, and that could be a game where we throw points away, because Newcastle, James Park is a hard place to go and get a result. So
are they allowed to have fans?
No, only Liverpool and Everton can have fans.
Only Liverpool and Everton.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just complacency. I mean, in that first half, like I said, I think that we came out pretty well. I thought everybody was ticking, and after that goal, we just let off the gas a little bit. Big Sam didn't change tactics at all. You know, he stayed in that 6-4 or 5-5, whatever you want to call it. But in the second half, we had that complacency, and that always leads to sloppiness with the ball. And the perfect example for me was when Curtis Jones gave away that goal. I mean, he tries to dribble across the field. He waits too long for the pass. They deflect it. Young Reece Williams, he's 19 years old. He tries to head it back to Allison, and it goes out of bounds for a corner, and it ultimately leads to the goal. But, I mean, homie, Mick, do you guys blame Jones for that? Do you blame his naivete as a 19-year-old, or is it overconfidence? I mean, what is it there?
I don't know. I think it's just he's 19, he's going to be 20 in January. He's just a young kid, and I think he's proved how good he is, like the last 5-6 games especially, like carrying the ball forward and pushing us on, and yeah, he's been great. But that's just a bit of naivety creeping in, and he's just like he does it a couple of times where he'll take too many touches with his back to with facing our own goal, and he's trying to turn someone. And you're like, you want them to just pass it in field or pass it to Trent, hit it downfield or whatever, just something like that, just something more simple. But I understand why he's doing that, because he wants to get on the ball and like spin out of positions and like play it out to Robertson or whatever and get the attack going. So I'm trying to be on his side, but it's a bit difficult when that goes out for a corner and you're like, if these score off here, he's going to be absolutely gutted, and then obviously he gets dragged off at Ox, didn't he, straight away? So. Yep. Yeah, it was disappointing, but like I said, we had it coming from the way we were set up and the way we weren't turning the screw as good as we can, and it was just an off day. Like it was literally just an off day today. That was it. No one was at the races, and yeah, if once Klopp gets all of them, imagine Newcastle. It wouldn't surprise me if we score at least 3 or 4 past them. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
I mean, that's what we can hope from that game. But homie, actually, I want to move on to a huge concern here. I mean, obviously the draw was brutal to watch, but we saw Joel Matip go off injured. Looked to me like it was his groin, could have been a pulled groin. Hopefully it's not a torn groin, because that can be, months out on the sideline. But then we saw Reece Williams come in, and there was one play in particular where he just got beat for speed. I mean, I think he's a great defender. He's solid back there. He's good in the air. He's composed, but he lacks pace. I mean, how important is the fact that we buy a center back in January, and how concerned are you about Matip's injury?
I think it's going to be difficult to get a center back in January, because we're not going to be able to get anyone of real top quality, which I think we need. And then I don't really want a K-back, one of those ones, someone that's a stopgap that we don't really rate that highly. So I think we're in a difficult point. We should have resolved this in the summer, which we didn't, but difficult point. And I think obviously Matip showed to me again, we can't rely on him. That's probably, I think it's going to be at least a month out to him. Normally Matip, these things take, for a normal person, it might be 2 weeks, but I think it's going to be a month out for him. And I think that's going to be massive, because he might just make, you play United in January, he might make the January game. We play that on 19th, 7th of January. He might make that, it might not. And that's going to be a massive blow if they make it. Yeah. Because Man United are pacey up top. So I think, again, like, with Williams, I think he's a very talented boy. He's done well when asked upon. But look, Jones is good. Williams is good when you're playing teams that have no pace up top. It worked against Harry Kane, because Harry Kane's got no pace. And it wasn't really going to run in behind us. And yes, Song was, but Kane wasn't really. So that's why it worked with Williams there. Against a team that has pace, he struggles. And he struggles in 1-on-1. We can't really play that high line that effectively with him, because as you saw, that he got done, and that guy's not even that fast, but he done it for pace, So that if Matt was there, that doesn't happen. Right. Matip's long legs or his positional play stops that from happening. And I think my concern now is the fact that we go into these games against Newcastle or Southampton, and we might have to play Henderson there, to be honest, because I think it's going to be a big ask to play Williams. And we can't play, obviously, Nat Phillips, because Nat Phillips as well, he doesn't have any pace. he's good against big aggressive strikers, and that's not saying Southampton or Newcastle strength. They've got quick, nimble players, So my fear there is going to have to be Henderson and force Chug to start if he's not, even he's fully fit, or and have to play that way because.
For which game are you talking about? Are you talking about Southampton?
Newcastle, both Newcastle and Southampton. If Matip's out for those games, we might have to play Henderson there because, and hopefully that Thiago is fit to start, or if Naby's back, or because I'm not actually worried about those games because I think they're going to be a threat on the pace on the attack. And like I said, no, I think Williams is a great player, but I think again. That's my one concern over him, future-wise, is the fact he doesn't have any pace. And I think for Liverpool, you either have to have an exceptional positional play and reading the game like Fabinho does, where he can navigate, not having been electric pace, but he's got that positional sense. The same with Matip to know where to stand, where to hold themselves. I think there's even a bit before where you showed like Fabinho tried to play the offside trap, and he moved forward, and Williams kept them on. And there was no there's that lack of synergy. Like, okay, so if Fabinho's going forward, Williams has to then realise I need to step forward too. But he stayed on and kept them on. So I think I don't know what to do. I don't know what we can do because we're not going to get a quality centre back in January. All our targets are not going to be available for the summer, so I don't really know what we can do there.
Yeah, for me, it's dependent on what FSG you want to do. I mean, if they go out and they buy a centre back, they're going for the Champions League. And they're going to go for the Premier League. So, they're going for titles right there. But if they don't, if they hold off, they trust Klopp, they trust their squad, they're only going for one title for me. So, but Mick, what do you think?
Yeah, I know exactly what Wahomie said. Like, it's going to be difficult to get anyone unless you're willing to pay a 20 million premium on someone that you're already going to get. That someone's already lined up for summer anyway, and you just want to fast track that to January. But you're going to have to pay a premium because it's January. No one wants to sell one of the star defenders in January, so it's going to be difficult. And it is just a shame that we've got Newcastle and then Southampton and United, who have all got fast players. So it's going to be difficult with Fabinho or Reece Williams and Nat Phillips in there to deal with that. We would have to be a bit more over reliant on the midfield. And like you also said, Wahomie, if Thiago's back, that'll be. If he comes back for Newcastle, that's absolutely key because we can retain the ball better, and that's when we're at our best, especially when he's in there. You've seen it in the few games he's been in there, like the Chelsea and Everton games, where we're just so good in terms of recycling it at a faster speed. Like today, we needed that, and with that, we were missing his creativity 100%. And that's like something that against Newcastle, if he starts, then you can expect an entirely different Liverpool in that game. But I don't know, centre half, we've been bailed out in a way by Fabinho being so good there. If Fabinho hadn't gone back then and been so good, we would have been in a really difficult position, like really difficult. We would have been pretty much screwed. We would have had to play Reece Williams and Nat Phillips together, which is what they've both been great when they've been called upon, but they need someone alongside them to guide them along the way. So it's difficult, but yeah, I've no idea what Klopp's going to do. I'm glad I'm not Liverpool manager because I would be absolutely stumped. I'd be begging FSG to send me loads of money just to fast track a transfer. But yeah, I've no idea.
Well, let's get back to this game really quick today. Trent, I thought, was one of the main players we missed today. He just didn't really seem up to par. On paper, I was checking his stats. He looked okay on paper, but the eye test just failed miserably. What do you have to say about Trent?
I thought Trent was poor today. I think he didn't offer anything going forward. I thought his crosses were really poor. I didn't understand why he's doing a short corner at the end. We're trying to get a goal. Why are you doing a short corner for? And I think a lot of his passes were just overhit crosses. I get Robertson on his side. He's actually towards the end, his crosses were a bit poor, but he was actually offering a threat. I thought Trent, since he's come out of injury, he's been up and down. He's had great games against Palace where he did great crosses, and you thought, oh wow, Trent's back. Then he goes back to Trent off form, where he's not really doing the crosses he used to do. His free kicks were poor today. Again, I didn't think either of those free kicks he took were that great. And I just thought overall, yeah, it reminded me of that season. I think it was 17-18, where if one of the fullbacks is not firing, then we struggle. If both the fullbacks aren't firing, then we struggle, because we need both of them to be on point in terms of their crosses in the box and the attacking nature. And I felt that's what happened today. Like, Trent felt like, it's not like, I know it wasn't a Milner, but it felt as if we were playing someone on the right hand side who wasn't really contribute going forward. I think that hurt us big time, because if Trent was on his normal game, we put him better crosses in because he had the opportunities. So today, I just think I don't want to single out Trent, because I think there were many other people who were poor as well today. He wasn't the only one. But yeah, I don't think he played well today.
Mick, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It was difficult because he's got, obviously there was no space there. There was obviously Salah's there Salah weren't obviously great either. He wasn't really committing his man as much as he usually does. He was passing in field, and we were just kind of going back sideways to sideways, but too slow. And Diangana was on that side, wasn't he? And he was tracking them really well. So obviously they identified Trent and Robertson as a threat, which isn't the biggest secret. Obviously, that you know that they're going to be one of the main creative outlets. And yeah, Diangana's done well against them. But yeah, like you said, I'd agree exactly what you said. He's been quite up and down recently, and that's because he's so good. Like I said, with our form, and we've been spoiled recently by how good we are. Trent is that good that any slight deviation from that, you expect better of him, because he is world class. Like, for me, he's the best right back in the world. When he's on it and in top form, you expect wonders. Like, you'd expect him probably to at least bag one of those free kicks when he's in top form. Like, especially the first one, definitely. I stood up and was like, yeah, this is top corner here. It's like that tells you how much I rate him.
Oh, I wish it was.
He is, that you think, right, he's just going to hit this top corner here, and there's nothing the keeper's going to do about it. And that was just like when that first one missed, and then you're thinking, is the Salah going to get the second one? And I was like, I don't want him to have it, but I want Trent to have another go. And it wasn't great either. But it just summarised the game. Those two free kicks and the way. Like, fair play to West Brom. They played us. They played perfectly in terms of 6-4-0 formation, or 5-5, whatever it was. It was just 7-3 at times. It was just ridiculous how many bodies they had back there. And it comes back again to the Thiago thing. You need someone in there who's got that eye for a pass. Even Naby Keita, who's going to do a step over and play a quick 1-2. And Curtis Jones tried it a couple of times where he passed it into feet and made a run off the ball. And he didn't get it back, and it was just the little things like that where you need to not force it, but you need to be a bit braver in that final third to make things happen, especially in these games. Otherwise, you get draws like that, and that's exactly what happened.
I mean, that's what it was for the midfield for me today. I mean, I'm a big advocate for Gini Wijnaldum, but he just seemed to. He was very stoic out there today. You know, he would get the ball. He would just look to do a quick pass to Hendo or to Curtis Jones or Fabinho, Matip, whoever it was. I mean, he wasn't really taking that many risks. And I was critical last week of Naby Keita in the first half, but that's something that he always does. He always takes risks. He's not afraid to make a mistake. And he always seems to let go of the ball at the right time. And that's something that Curtis Jones didn't really do too well today. But, homie, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just saying with Jones, I think he's an exceptional talent. But I just feel like I don't think Klopp is using him sometimes in the right way. I think today he could allow Jones to be a bit more further, be more attacking. Like, we know in under 23s, Jones scored loads of goals. You know, he was an attacking player. So I think Klopp could say to him, look, we don't need you to be doing recycle stuff. Like, get in the box, take shots on, you know, get forward and stuff, do that more, especially when you're playing at West Brom. And I think, like, I don't understand why we still need Jones playing so deep, recycling the ball, when you've got Hendo and Ginny there, and West Brom aren't really going to attack you that much. They're just going to play two ranks of four. I think that he could say to Jones, look, get in the box, make runners in the box, take shots, you know, because we know Jones got it. We know Jones could score good curlers. We saw that, you know, in the cup competitions. So tell him, look, take a shot, Jones, get in the box. So I think sometimes we're not using him the correct way. You know, we know he's got attacking ability there. So I think that's what I think the next evolution of Jones is him to start scoring goals and start adding that goals and assists that he was getting in the under-23s into his game. Because I think like he's got it all there to be a box-to-box player. I don't want to see him as a recycling player. I think he's a better box-to-box player. You know, someone that can do the recycling, but also get in the box and score goals, and be like, not obviously Steven Gerrard's an exceptional player, but I think he's got it in him to do how Gerrard was doing, box to box when he was younger, doing that. And I'd rather see that rather than this recycling thing.
Do you think it comes down to Klopp's tactics in these types of matches? I mean, obviously, Big Sam, like we said, lined up with a 6-4, 5-5, whatever you want to call it. But I think I agree with you. Jones definitely could have afforded to maybe drop or go into a little forward into the box with Bobby Firmino. Maybe Salah and Mane spread out. It spreads out that defense. It allows the overlap play with the fullbacks. And you have Henderson and Keita, or Henderson and Wijnaldum just kind of sitting back, providing balance. I mean, Mick, would you agree with that? Or, I mean, do you like how the front three always play narrow together and just try to link up with Bobby?
Yeah, and it's like you said, the formation they employed, it's so difficult. Like, I understand what Wahomie's saying. Like, you need to be more creative in the final third, but it was really difficult to find the space, and you could see sometimes we were forcing it, especially towards the end, where there's just little clips in behind, and you're just like, oh God, like you try them earlier in the game if you're going to do it, like don't do it at the end. Like, and sometimes we are guilty of like trying to walk it in, which is a bit frustrating to watch, where we'll just endless passing. You just want Oxlade-Chamberlain on the end just to absolutely hit it as hard as he can, like you want, or Jones on the edge of the box. Right, you've got 2 yards. Just have a go. Just test the keeper, because
Hendo scored last week. With the curler,
anyone, because it's frustrating, but. I agree with Wahomie, but I think Curtis Jones is just trying to find his place. I think he's got into the team. I think he's done really well. I think he's just trying to find his best position, because I think sometimes he's guilty of, he'll get it and I think in his head he's right, I'm going to drive forward. That's what he wants to do. But then he thinks, right, the system is back to Henderson, over to Trent, then back again, and try and break through slowly in terms of like pushing them back. But I think in his game is taking people on and committing defenders and having shots on goal and little quick 1-2s. And like I said, you could see that where he played into feet and he'd run into space, and you want to see, I think Firmino tried that once, a little back heel into his feet, but it just didn't come off. And it's little things like that where it needs to be perfect. If you're going to try and do that through a flat back turn, you need it to be perfect, the link up. And it just weren't there today, and that was the story of the game, and that's why it was so frustrating to watch, because we expect a lot of these boys now because they're so good, and when they're not quite there, it's frustrating. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if Thiago's back on for Newcastle, and it's going to be, I expect part of them. Yeah, I can't wait.
What's that?
Do you think that was a Bobby miss or a great save?
I thought it was a great save. I thought Bobby did everything right. He headed it into the ground. It was going far post, and Johnstone just made a great save. He just barely got a hand to it. You thought it was a Bobby miss?
No, because I've seen some people debate that on Twitter. Oh, yeah. And some people said that.
Well, I actually want to get into that a little bit. I mean, Wahomie, last week or the past few weeks, you were somewhat critical of Sadio Mane not being on the top of his game. I mean, he hasn't been scoring goals, but then he comes back and scores 2 goals here. And we're seeing what I think is somewhat the best of Bobby Firmino recently as well. I mean, are you happy with what the front three is putting out there?
I thought they didn't. I think Mane got a little frustrated. I think, when he gets frustrated, his game goes off, to be honest, after he scored the goal. Because I think he was struggling to get away from that, the guy marking him.
Furlong or something, yeah.
Furlong, yeah. He was struggling to get away from him. And also, I think there's a bit where Furlong had grabbed Mane and stopped it from jumping. I don't know if he didn't give it. So I think what we struggle is sometimes we don't always get the front three all clicking. I think majority of times one of them clicking, the other one doesn't. It's not often that we have, Palace is a rare game. Palace is a rare game where they all 3 scored. No, normally they don't always do that. It's normally 1 scores or 2 score, the other ones. And I think tonight, I agree. Obviously, there was a lack of space, but I think we could have had a bit more movement. I think obviously Salah's game wasn't in his game today, so I think in terms of movement, I think it was only Mane and Bobby actually trying to do something. I think Salah was a bit too passive, so I think. There's a lack of movement on his side. So what can you mean? I don't really blame the forwards today. I think it was just a lack of service in terms of us being able to break them down rather than blaming the forwards, because there's only so much they can do, and it was as if they were given tons of chances to score from. You know, we barely created anything until the Bobby chance in the second half. Otherwise, they were feeding us scraps. You know,
that was our one shot target in the second half.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to blame the forwards too much. I think it was more of a thing from the whole team in terms of the creative side, in terms of giving them stuff to really create from. But obviously, I said it doesn't help. You know, Salah had a quiet night tonight.
Jay just got into the chat. Jay Pearson, thank you for complimenting me on my shirt. I love it. I love it as well, man. It's so comfortable. It's so warm. I'm actually sweating a little bit right now. The heater is right underneath my desk. So I'm definitely struggling a little bit right now. But last thing I want to cover, Mick, I'm going to go to you here. A milestone for Fabinho. We saw him get 100 appearances with the Reds. I mean, how great has this guy been? I mean, I think we need to sign him to a long-term deal now.
Yeah, well, he needs to. Like I said, if he wouldn't have adapted to that centre half role, so like a duck to water, we would have been in a very, very difficult position. Like he's without words to describe the guy. He's an absolute machine, isn't he? Like he gets Inspector Gadget with those legs. Like he just wins every ball. He's just a Rolls Royce. He's a perfect player to play back there, and I don't know if he sees himself there long term, but. Once we get Van Dijk and Gomez back, I imagine he'll want to go straight into the six again and or into midfield at least. But yeah, he's what a player, what a signing! Like that one came out of the blue. I remember the Fabinho one. It was kind of like picking up my phone. And it was like Liverpool have signed Fabinho. I think it was after the Champions League final. I was like,
it was like 2 days after.
Like, yeah, it's like. So it wouldn't surprise me if something happens similar next summer. Just someone like absolutely no one has a clue about that comes in, and you're just like, wow, what a signing. But yeah, like his 100th game, like what a player. Like the goal he scored against was it Man City, that absolute rocket that obviously comes to mind. Just a boss player, and he's embraced like the city and the culture and the way we play. He's an absolute perfect player for even like obviously going into centre half and doing so well. But in terms of midfielder, when he was playing there last year as the six, he was the best in the world, and that's how good he is. Like he's the creative of everything. He's like I've always said he's a blend of Alonso and Mascherano in terms of he's a creator and he's a destroyer as well. So yeah. It's a pleasure to have him. And like he was another one he was good today, but it was it's difficult trying to think of positives about that game. But yeah, one of them was him getting his 100th game. So yeah, what a sign he was.
Well, homie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we need to get him signed up ASAP and I think I read yesterday how he wants to get I think he made comments about how he wants to get back to midfield. I think today we need Fabinho in midfield in an ideal situation, because I think he's the only another one who's able to do good progressive passes going forward. He plays most of his balls forward. You know, you look back to the Man United one when he chips in the ball for Mane and Mane scored. Like Fabinho's really good at that, and I think I'd rather, as soon as Fabinho's being at centre back, I want him back in midfield, because I think he's so much more better in midfielder, you know, and he actually helps us in attack more. So, but yeah, I think we need to sign up to a new contract ASAP, get him signed and done, and get it done, you know, and just get it on the line, you know. So, yeah, it is what it is. We just get him over the line, get Hendo signed up, get VVD signed up, get Salah signed up, get Mane signed up, get them all signed up to new contracts, because we don't want to be in another Ginny situation.
Bravo. All right. Lastly, what's that?
We don't want to be in another Ginny situation. Just give him the money now. Just get him signed up.
Well, apparently we did offer Genie a new contract. I saw that today, and he's taking his time to review it. So hopefully he signs that pretty soon. But lastly, let's get into the man of the match. It's going to be a tough one to pick here. Mick, let's start with you. What did you think? Who's the man of the match for you?
Sam Allardyce. I'm only messing. Honestly, I don't know. Probably Mane. If I had to pick someone, obviously the goal was Like the goals were class. Like to take that on his chest, and the finish is just like only a handful of people can do that in world football and make it look that easy and that simple.
Class. Yep.
He's just an absolute genius. So I think for him, because like we said, Salah wasn't on it as a game today, but every time Mane got the ball, it looked like they were doubling up or trebling up on him, and even still, he was getting by them and whipping balls in. I mean, they were hopeful balls, but sometimes they work. And he was, every time he got the ball, he was a threat, and that's Mane all over when he's in that type of form. But yeah, Furlong done well against them, to be fair, and he was getting a bit riled. I think it was similar with the Spurs game with Aurier. It was like a good battle. I think it was the same today. There was a chance where he went over in the box, and it did look. It might have been a soft one, but you've seen them giving like the
he held them on.
He's held them, but yeah. So it'd be either Rob or Mane, but I think Mane shades it for me.
Yeah, well, homie, who did you think? Man of the match.
I'm going for Alisson. He saved us with that 1-on-1.
Very true.
And I don't think he could do anything for the goal. And I think, again, I don't think he deserves to be on the losing side. So I'm going to go Alisson because he saved us, as he always does. But we don't ever say it enough because other people have done stuff. But I think for me, he's only one for me. I think didn't deserve to be on the losing side. Draw them side tonight.
Yeah, for me, it was a strange one. I thought if Matip went the full 90 and we won, I probably would have given it to him. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in that first half and started the second half. Same with Sadio Mane. I thought he had a very effective first half, but he kind of disappeared in the second half. But for me, the ever-present one is always Jordan Henderson. I thought that he was the mop again. My nickname for him, the mop. He was just everywhere. He's just constantly cleaning up. He was getting players involved. He was covering for Trent. He was covering for Robbo. He just seems to be everywhere. He seems to be trying to lead the team forward. So I'm giving it to Jordan Henderson. But let's wrap this one up today. It was definitely a tough one for all of us. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you haven't, please subscribe to our channel. We definitely appreciate it. Give us a like, give us a comment, let us know your thoughts. And if you haven't checked out the Kopite Podcast, please give it a listen. Mick here is one of the hosts on that channel, and it's just great stuff, great analyzation of the game and of Liverpool. But many last comments from you guys.
Newcastle must win at all costs.
Nobody wants to say anything.
Yeah, well, you summed it up there. Well, homie, you were like, Alisson didn't deserve to be on the losing side because it feels like a loss today. Like it does. It's really disappointing. But yeah, Newcastle's a big one now. It's a big one. That's it. We've got to look forward. We can do nothing else but look forward. I know how frustrating today was, and it was really frustrating for everyone. But we've just got to go right, chalk it off. It was a bad day at the office. That old cliche, and we go forward to Newcastle and just hope that with Thiago back in the squad, that raises everyone's performance. Even if he's on the bench and comes on 60 or 45, everyone knows that he's going to go straight in there when he's fit. So that raises everyone's performance because they don't want to be the one drop for him. So I'm hoping that'll be the case, and we just absolutely batter them.
He's going to put one in the top corner. First game back, he's going to put one in the top corner. I'm calling it. All right, let's wrap it there, everybody. Look forward to our preview on Tuesday to the Newcastle game. But other than that, up the Reds. We'll see you soon.
See you, lads.
In a bit.